Welcome to the Food Startups Podcast.
We are now on our 20th episode. How's it going, Danny?
Matt, it is going fine, just fine. I'm here in Medellin. It's a beautiful day as per usual. Just had some good food. Life can't be much better, to be honest.
Wow, sounds like everything's going really well, man. That's good to hear. We have a good amount of news for listeners today. Is that right?
Yeah, definitely. I think we're working hard for you guys to try to really have some really good content on here. We've got a great guest on today, and we're busting out. Drum roll, Twitter. Yeah.
That's right. That's right. Please connect with us on Twitter. I don't think you'd call either one of us an expert with Twitter, but we're going to go ahead and try to, share content pics and connect with people, and also use it as a way to promote our podcast.
Absolutely. I think that there's a pretty awesome food community vibe on Twitter. A lot of the food startups in the United States, at least. Because of that, we're glad to be able to interact with them, share with them our stories, and learn from them as well. So that's really exciting stuff.
There's something that's a little bit murky, and this happens in my background for web businesses and just startups in general. It's there's all these social media tools, right? There's Facebook, there's Instagram, Pinterest, Twitter, tons of other ones, right? It's always like, am I going to be on this because it's going to help, or am I just doing this because I don't want to be left behind? I'm hoping that Twitter will have a value add. We can get really good at using Twitter as opposed to doing 7 and doing them mediocre and updating them every once in a while.
Well, here's what Twitter gets you. The food industry is always changing, and so Twitter lets you stay on top of that. You know what I'm saying? So I'm always getting emails from different newsletters about the new products that are coming out. So a lot of food is about new. And so Twitter helps you stay on top of that. They help you separate the wheat from the chaff as well, from the chaff. I don't know how to pronounce that word. And so, I think it's going to be a great tool for us. We'll be able to really interact with you guys, respond to your direct messages too. So looking forward to that tremendously.
Well, yeah, man. So let's bring on our guest.
All right, and today we've got a very special guest from Medellin, a really good friend of both Matt and I, Juan Luis Vera. He is the owner of PeruMix and a serial entrepreneur, and so we're really, really glad to have him on the show. PeruMix is a fast food, fusion type food. I don't know how to describe it except everybody loves it type restaurant. So Juan Luis, welcome.
Hey, Danny. Hey, Matt. How are you?
Juan Luis, we're really excited to have you on our show.
Awesome. I'm here.
Yeah, man. And so first off, to the listeners that haven't had the pleasure of trying your restaurant, tell us, what exactly is PeruMix?
PeruMix, it's a Peruvian restaurant with a twist, meaning that it combines fast food type concept with Peruvian food. So we sell, from sandwiches to the traditional gourmet Peruvian dishes.
Peruvian food, isn't Peruvian food all like fish and ceviche? What did you do to kind of meld that concept together into fast food?
Well, that's what most people think outside of Peru. I mean, there are several misconceptions. Most people think is first that it's only seafood, and second that it's expensive. Me being Peruvian, obviously, I know how it really is. And that's why PeruMix came out into the market with a different approach. If you notice, we do sell seafood. That's what people look for, Peruvian restaurants. But that's about 35-40% of our menu. I mean, the rest we combine traditional dishes with meat, chicken, and we go from sandwiches to gourmet dishes. By doing that, we are trying to actually, change the mentality of what most people think about Peruvian food. And second, by combining the fast food concept with it, we try to have an approach that Peruvian food is not only fancy, it's not only expensive. We try to go with a different approach, and we target a younger audience.
Yeah, to me, it's felt a little bit like what Chipotle in the fine dining fast food is in the U.S. market. PeruMix might be to the Colombian market, because Peruvian food is pretty popular in Colombia, right?
Yeah, actually, it's a huge trend right now going on pretty much worldwide. Most recent was Thai, Mexican, now we're talking about Peruvian food. TripAdvisor reports from last year, we put Peruvian food in the top 3 new trends worldwide.
In Colombia, the Peruvian restaurants, at least in Bogota, every single one that I've been to is really expensive. except for maybe this one lunch place. But pretty much they're all super expensive, and most of them are not very good, except for Astor y Gaston, which is, that's like a worldwide, 5-star Michelin restaurant.
Just to give you an example of trend, Santiago, Chile has about 220 Peruvian restaurants. Buenos Aires has about 200 restaurants, and Colombia, Bogota has about 60, and Medellin has about 30. So it's a growing trend, and most of the restaurants have opened in the past 2 or 3 years, so they're recent. However, like you said, most of them are going for they're targeting a higher audience. It works well for them, but we're doing the opposite way. We are targeting a younger audience. Before we opened, we did a bit of research. We went to a couple of universities around here. We asked people around. We asked a simple question. It's like, college students, if you want, Thursday night, if you take your girlfriend out to eat, what kind of food you go eat? Do you go eat Mexican? You eat burgers, hot dogs? Obviously, burgers and hot dogs are no-brainers for paisas. But we put Peruvian food as an option, and it was pretty much the least option that was chosen. And then we asked them why, and the first answer was, well, Peruvian food is expensive. Our idea is to change that. That's what we target a younger audience, and it has worked really well for us.
And Juan Luis, how did you get started in the food business? Tell us about it.
Well, for me, restaurant business is a first. However, I've been entrepreneur for several years. So before this, I was into online business. And however, we Peruvians, we have a passion for food. So Danny's been in Lima, I think you as well. So you probably know that we revolve around food in Peru. So I cook. I like to cook. And when I was in Medellin, I started with a need of going to Peruvian restaurants just to dine out and eat. However, I ran into a situation that if I wanted to eat in a Peruvian restaurant at least once a week with my girlfriend, it would be a budget on its own. So that's when I first spotted that there was a need for this. Then I started to develop it gradually. I started doing some research, setting up business plans and concept. And after 6 or 7 months, sat down with 3 of my paisa friends in Medellin. We talked about the idea. We all liked it, and 10 days later, we were looking for a place to start it. So we set up a kind of like a test pilot, a small location in Calle 10, which really, really, really worked pretty good for us. And it took off. From there, it took off. I think the fact that I'm the oldest in the company. The fact that we're all young, they're locals, and the fact they embrace the concept and they embrace Peruvian food as their own. I think it helped a lot. And it's been a year and 7 months, and so far we've been doing a lot better than expected.
Excellent. And for you listeners, I want to clarify 2 quick things so you guys know a little bit about Medellin. First, for first-time listeners, paisas are what we call folks from Medellin that live in the area, as well as live in the greater region of Antioquia. And also one thing that I do want to mention for any listeners in the States or that haven't visited Colombia is that Colombia, while a rapidly developing country, a lot of the restaurants can be pretty expensive. You can have pretty medium to high quality meals from between $10 and $20 a plate. Peruvian restaurants especially have had this reputation of really breaking the bank. And so that's kind of what I think Juan Luis was talking about with, when if you're taking a girlfriend out, you want to be able to make sure you treat her to a great meal, but also if the value isn't so great, then maybe you start thinking about the business where all the couples will start coming to grab their food. So
in Medellin, most Peruvian restaurants, for a young couple to go eat out, they probably going to spend an average of $60 a couple. That's on the low part. In our restaurants, a college student could probably spend half that amount, and they come out happy. So, and they could do it every week. In a country where the minimum wage is $300, it's a big difference.
Matt and I have talked a lot about doing business in Colombia and Latin America. You do business and work with Colombians every day, and you started this business that's really it's hard to start. It's hard. It's super hard to start a restaurant, let alone have two restaurants, let alone, your plans are huge. So tell me, what are some of the challenges and surprises that you've seen, and how is it different from your other experiences in the U.S. or Peru?
I think the main part, especially in the restaurant business, is qualified staff, first of all. See, what happened is that the food business in Colombia is not as developed as States or even Peru, which, it's very well developed now. Finding qualified staff here, it's a first challenge. For us, it grew really quick. Within the past year, when we started, we were a total of 5 people on staff, including the founders. We're up to 17, and with the new restaurant opening in the next month, we're probably going to be up to 24 in our staff, and it's a big challenge. It's something that we have to deal with on a monthly basis. We always gotta be looking for qualified staff, testing and training. That's first, and second is once you find qualified staff in the cooking areas, then it's hard to get the staff to get adjusted to a formal type of business, meaning that on a strict type of business, standardized. And that's what I gathered from living in the States for so long. Working under a concept of a potential franchise environment, it demands a lot. It demands a lot of organization. It demands a lot of standards. And people, especially in the food business, cooks here, for example, are not really used to it. I mean, when we started, people would ask, why are we doing this? And, small things like why are you labeling the food and why you put in dates if we're so small. People don't have that they're not set for that yet. However, it's changing, and that's something that we are trying to teach our staff constantly on the monthly basis. After a year, I would say that I have a good team now. However, trying to get new people in and try to get adjusted to it, especially locally, it's always a challenge.
Juan Luis, your company is about 17 people now. How many people have you gone through to get to that 17?
Oh, Jesus. Not that I've gone through, it's just that I learned to actually test them before. So what I do now, it's I put it on a 15 to 30 day trial period before they actually hire. Regardless, this 30-day period, they work the same, they're formally paid and everything, but they don't go into a long-term contract. So that helped me to actually test people out. And if you ask me how many people have gone through that test, I mean that's constantly. To get to 17, I've probably gone through easily at least 20 people, and that's counting the ones that showed up. You gotta count the ones that told you, look, I start Monday and they never show up, which is another 20. Which is another big issue here.
Man.
Just an example. I mean, right now I'm trying to get people for the new restaurant, and last week I interviewed 7 cooks, and out of the 7 cooks I picked 2, and I asked them to come on Monday. One called me on Monday with the most common excuse among all of them. It's like they had a family issue, someone was sick, they couldn't show up. The other one showed up, told me he had something to do for a couple of hours. I was going to come back in 2 hours. Then he texted me saying that, sorry, he found a different job. Then he texted me the next day telling me to forget about it, to apologize, if he could reapply for the position. Those are things that you got to deal with constantly. It's just part of doing business here.
Yeah, man, I've seen this probably worldwide, but in Colombia, like someone sick in the family is, to be honest, is a really effective excuse because you can't really call someone out on it too hard because, their mother may actually be sick.
It's a tough thing because it's like, you could tell when someone is actually, not telling the truth, but at the same time, there's nothing you can really do about it.
Yeah, absolutely. And so you have to take that into account, I bet, when you start staffing the restaurant. So how far in advance are you going to be staffing the restaurant?
The decision we made, we are working now with a human resource agency.
Yeah.
It's much better because if we start trying to get the people to come to the interviews and do going through all the documentation ourselves it demands a lot of time. So we try to now we decided to outsource that through an agency. So they pretty much pre-interview everyone and they send us their best candidates, and out of those we pick the ones we really like. Even though we still have issues with that, but not as much as before. It's a bit expensive for us. On the long run, it's worth it.
And so, Juan Luis, you're running restaurants, you're staffing and finding employees for another. You're dealing with a lot of different people every single day. How are you different now compared to a year and a half, 2 years ago, with dealing with Colombian employees? Are you more patient with them?
I'm very good friends with many restaurant owners in the area. Around Poblado, we pretty much, 50 or 60% of the restaurant owners know each other. A lot of them go with a different approach. In fact, most of them go with the approach that, you know what, I'm sick of this, and they go really strict. They don't really care about employees, and they treat them really bad. That's in average. I'm trying a different approach, and I think I'm still confident that in the long run it's going to work. So far, I see good results. But what I do is I try to be as formal as possible. I mean, I give them all the rules. I'll give them everything written. We have a procedure manual written, So they're aware that, for example, if they're going to be late 2 days, they don't have to argue. They're just going to sign a warning without having to discuss about it. And another thing is that I try to have the penalize them with something that has to do with probably their income, and that's when I think they take it seriously. I was telling Danny the other day, for example, before we were having a huge issue with people showing up late, whether it's 5, 10, 15 minutes, 20 minutes, and no matter how much you tell them, they still showing up late. And the thing is that in a place where you don't have that many qualified staff, you cannot just be telling them, look, just don't come back, because it creates a problem. So what we did is, we set up a rule that whoever shows up 5 minutes late doesn't get the tips for the shift. And that worked perfect. I don't even have to be managing that. I mean, it's them controlling each other. Oh, you're 6 minutes late, you don't get the tips. Obviously, because it's an additional income for them. And if there's one person less in the shift not taking tips, it's more money for the rest. So things like that, small details, work good. And so far, it's
absolutely bringing accountability and competitiveness into PeruMix sounds like it's an amazing way to make people better employees. So that sounds awesome.
Yeah, and also what I try to do, and this is probably from my U.S. background, I try not to be always about money, meaning that I'm sending a couple guys for English lessons. I'm trying to stimulate them in different ways, not only money-wise. So we send them for training, we send them to different programs. This year we signed a few of the staff for English classes and things like that. So I think at the end, they're gonna learn the difference between working in an environment like this and appreciate it, and knowing that if they leave to work for another restaurant nearby, they're probably not gonna get the same things.
Wow, yeah, this actually reminds me of an anecdote from one of Phil Jackson's books where he talked about coaching the summer league in Puerto Rico, and he actually quipped that if I would have made my players adhere to the if you're late, you don't play policy, then we would have had to forfeit every single game in the summer. Well, that sounds great. You got to show them, not tell them, right? And it seems like you're on the way to doing that.
Yeah, that's my motto. Yeah,
I like it. Now the restaurant industry, as everyone knows, to varying degrees, it's really, really tough to have success in it. And, I don't know, I'm sure I can make up some stat that'll be pretty close, but the majority of restaurants fail within the first year, et cetera, et cetera. How do you find success, and what role does the menu play in that?
I think that if you are pretty much business oriented, and you do some research before, I think you'll be able to at least catch some red flags to see if your concept or where you're entering, whether it's Peruvian food or Mexican food, is gonna do is gonna have a chance or not. I mean, just in where the areas where we started in Poblado, I mean, we probably in the past year and a half, and I walk around the area every day. I mean, in the past year and a half, there's probably around 7 or 8 restaurants that opened a year ago and they already closed down. So it's tough, but their concepts, I think they're restaurants that if they probably give it some thought, it was gonna be hard. Some things demand a lot of money. Some concepts are too new, so you got to spend a lot of marketing. In our case, I think that we jump on the Peruvian food wagon. I mean, there's a huge trend right now with Peruvian food. So all we did was basically just develop a good concept, switch things up.
Definitely. And I know just based on listening to you talk about some of the research that you did, the testing that you do with finding out what people like, testing for your employees, you definitely evade some of those pitfalls. And I think that that's really, really, really important in the restaurant industry.
Yes, definitely.
Juan Luis, a few more questions, all right? I know I'm really excited to hear about what you have planned for PeruMix. I wanted to see where PeruMix is headed. What are you guys have 2 locations right now, right?
Yes.
And what are you trying to do this year?
Well, the new location we're opening, it's going to be our main location. Not only is going to have the restaurant, it's going to have the main office, and it's going to have a prep kitchen, a centralized prep kitchen.
And that one's in Medellin, right?
Yeah, that's going to be the one in Poblado. So this prep kitchen is going to work. The idea is to centralize everything, centralize the prep work for a lot of the ingredients that we use, and then send them out to all the restaurants. That's the one thing we're accomplishing right now. I mean, we started doing it a few months ago, but now we just got our own place specifically for this. And at the same time, we just started a franchise certification program. It takes about 8-9 months. It's a huge investment on our end. The idea for us is to actually get the certification, hopefully by the other year, and be able to franchise the locations. From a business point of view, the core business for PeruMix Corporate is to actually sell locations. That's where our goal is. First we developed the concept. We saw it. Now that it works, restaurants are working. So now the core business for us is to actually maintain these locations, improve the brand, grow it, and at the same time be able to sell these locations.
Definitely.
And guys, I just want to make a point here. Now, it's impossible. Most of our listeners aren't even in Colombia, so they probably haven't tried PeruMix. But this is it's really, really good. And, I'll put my money where my mouth is. This is not a promotion that Juan Luis told me before the show. But, if you guys contact me, within a year of this podcast and you try the ají de gallina sandwich and you don't like it, I'll be happy to refund you your money because it is an amazing sandwich.
Oh, great.
Excellent. I wanted to keep on asking just a little bit more about this kind of the expansion, the future. So just for our listeners, just for folks who are in the restaurant industry, from going from one restaurant to 2 restaurants, what are some of the most difficult things about it?
First of all, maintaining quality product. That's the first challenge. Once we manage that, is to actually be able to centralize production of prep work for ingredients.
And by prep work, you mean what?
For example, all the meat arrives to one place. It gets cut in portions. It gets bagged. It gets labeled, and everything ships to the different other restaurants. So the idea is for the cook at a different restaurant to just, for example, if I'm going to cook ají de gallina, they grab the portion of chicken which is already weighed, put it on the wok, and finish it. Actually cook it, but it's already weighed, so they don't have to be, cutting meat or anything like that. And by doing that, we standardize, the process of how the dishes come out and the portions and everything. And I think a huge, a lot of the success, I think, has to do with, and I don't think I mentioned this, when I started this, even though I cook, I'm not a professional cook. We got in contact in Peru with Daniel Paz. Daniel Paz is a top chef in Peru. He's a famous chef. He's a main chef for one of the top 3 hotels in Lima, Hotel Argentinos. He manages like 50 cooks and everything. So what we did is we hired him as an advisor. He came here, he set up the menu, he trained the guys, and now what he does is he comes every 3 or 4 months to follow up. Follow up in new menus, new dishes, new recipes, and he standardized the way the kitchen needed to be set up, thinking about multiple locations. So I think that was a huge. I think it was really good on our end to actually be able to work with.
Absolutely. So that means you could get the second restaurant up more easily. You have the menu, you have the processing, the third, the fourth, the fifth, and beyond, right?
Yes. It makes things a lot easier. I think the next challenge would be when we go to a different city, talking to other restaurant owners. I don't know if we need to do another prep work center kitchen in another city or ship everything from one place.
Excellent. Yeah, that sounds incredible, and I'm sure those are some great challenges to look forward to. Finding out how to do business in Bogota, how to do business in the coast, in Ecuador and Peru, in the United States, right?
Yes.
Excellent.
Yeah. No, and in Colombia, unlike Peru, Colombia, I think each city differs a lot. People behavior, consumer behavior. Bogota is different than Medellin, so that's going to be very interesting. I mean, Matt knows he's in Bogota. Bogota is where all the Peruvian restaurants are right now, most of them. So,
did you know that they're opening a Chifa restaurant? And
yeah.
Yeah, I was actually there yesterday. I think they're opening next week.
For your listeners, Chifa is what we call in Peru a Chinese Peruvian restaurant, and there are hundreds.
Yes, because there are lots of Chinese immigrants in Peru, right?
Yeah, Peru has a lot of Oriental influence. We have a Chinese influence for the past 100 years or so. I mean, we have a huge Chinatown and things like that. And I think a lot of our cooking techniques, it's influenced by this Oriental background.
Excellent. Well, I think one thing that's so special about what you're doing, Juan Luis, is just that PeruMix is different, not just from every Colombian restaurant, but from every restaurant in the United States. And it's a concept that you don't see a lot. So you see the number of food items with the number of ingredients, the cleanliness of how everything works and gets fit together. And it's just it's a beautiful thing to see from the point of a chef, from the point of a restaurateur, and from the point of food connoisseurs and enthusiasts. So it's immediately something that's just really, it's a provocative concept that people love. And there's going to be a lot of success, I think, with PeruMix in the future.
And not only that, I mean, the location we started in Poblado, which was really tiny, and that was our test pilot pretty much for the first year and a half. Then we opened the second one in Laureles, which is a bigger location, but always with the same concept. And I think the one we're opening in about 30 days, this is probably going to be the one that all our experience for about a year and a half, year and 7 months is being put into place. And this is a location that we definitely is going to reflect the concept of PeruMix.
Excellent. Well, Juan Luis, such a pleasure to have you on the show. Learn a little bit about the express gourmet dining industry and how you're disrupting it. So I really want to thank you for taking the time.
Thank you, guys.
And Juan Luis, we can find you online at PeruMix.com?
PeruMix.co.
PeruMix.co, okay.
Yes, that's
great.
CO.
And Matt will be sending in an inquiry online about how he can bid for the first Bogota location.
That's right.
We're taking franchise applications. And that's no joke. I mean, every month we get several applications for it, which is why we started this franchise program sooner than expected.
I think you guys should put one 2 blocks away from my apartment just so I can go without any research. That would be great for me if someone can do that.
That'll be a test location in Bogota, exactly.
Yeah.
Bogota is a huge market there.
Thanks so much for listening. And as always, if you have any questions or comments, find us online at foodstartupspodcast.com.